Hi, this is Dave Hammer. Bruce Jarrell has 3 custom power hammers I built for him. These hammers use my Bulldog air circuit and provide the control and capabilities he needs to forge tubing with a wall thickness down to 25 thousandths of an inch. All 3 hammers have similar capabilities, but each serve him in differing ways. This is the first of 3 videos where Bruce introduces each hammer and talks about control, features, and capabilities. Before Bruce starts, I'd like to show you what I consider one of the most amazing forgings he has made with these hammers. The spindle he forges is used as part of the base for an early American tea table. The spindle started out as a 1.75 inch OD straight tube. It's a single piece from the top to where the legs are attached under it. All forging was done using one of his custom hammers. This video, although the tubing is a different size, shows how he forges a spiral. The garnish that looks like turnings just above the legs was also forged using an air hammer. Here's Bruce to introduce you to his first hammer.
So this hammer is made by Dave Hammer. It has a central pedestal. It has a base. This base is mounted onto a fairly heavy stump. You can see that it has 2 sides to it. It has one side where you've got a unconstrained hammer here. On this side you have a guided hammer ram that comes down and the dies are mounted here, whereas in this one we'll talk about this arm in a minute, but let's focus on this side first. So there's a fairly heavy-duty pneumatic cylinder here, a flexible coupling, a trip for the air control, and also then a system here where the foot pedals control the adjustment of the amount of air flowing through the hammer. And so this allows it to set the height, and this is obviously adjustable. To turn the air on is this knob here. And before I do that, I want to show you that I can switch from cylinder 2 to cylinder 1, this being 2, this being 1, with a very easy process of turning off the air, bleeding the system, switching it to 2, and switching the control valve to 2. Now I'm actually hot on this side, and you can begin to see that with the foot pedal here, and if I want it lower, of course, I can get it much, much lower.
That's the ram.
That's the ram.
He's positioning the stroke.
Right. So now, and you can see the delicateness of the hit. One thing about this has very narrow dies on it. These dies are about 1/8 of an inch in front to back width. You can see that it's 2 V's plus a flat here, and the top die is completely flat. They're mounted, this one onto the ram and this one onto the anvil. There's some flexibility adjustment here. This one's pretty in a fixed position. Because these are narrow dies, you have to have a stop. And you can see back here where my thumb is, right back here, there is a stop that prevents these dies from hitting one another and overlapping. Now, this particular side of the hammer, it's nice to have a light always, but you can sit in 2 positions. You can sit like this in front of this with your foot pedal here to do your work. So something like that. Or you can sit over here with a foot pedal and forge in this position. This particular position is especially useful when you're doing a series of narrow grooves or fullers. You can space them very nicely. The other position is good when you're doing general forging with these dies. So 2 stations, 2 separate foot pedals, and really 2 separate uses there. So that's a very handy part of this machine. The anvil here does not move around much. You don't need to adjust it once you get things aligned here. So that part works very well. Because this has a flexible coupling on it, you do need to use Loctite or something to keep that from coming undone. One other thing which you saw me use a minute ago is this little toggle switch. So this little toggle switch is lined up with line air, so it's at the full pressure before the regulator on the hammer, and it bypasses the system to allow me to independently raise the ram or this side of the hammer in a very controlled manner. So you can see I can get it wherever I want without having to fiddle with the foot pedal. Very handy aspect of this hammer. Another aspect of this, of the ram side here, is that, put that aside, is that sometimes you really want to have delicate forging. You want to be under control. You want to have it very reproducible rate, and you can't always get that with a foot pedal. So one nice way to do that is what Dave and I call a governor system. So in this particular hammer, there's a valve back here that you either leave on or off. This one's off right now, but so that means that this valve now controls the rate of cycling of this hammer. So let me give you the example of, first of all, with the valve on, I can go fast. I can go any speed I want to go. Let's move it up so you can see what I mean by that. You see, I can really go fast. And that may be good for general forging, but if I'm trying to have high control, I switch that valve, and then I adjust it to where I want it. So the foot pedal is all the way down now, and you can see that it's cycling. And if I speed it up a little bit, so very reproducible, very consistent hit when you're doing really delicate stuff. So for example, if you're doing Home Depot style copper tubing, which has a wall thickness of 25 thousandths, 30 thousandths, this kind of method allows you to make a very delicate hit. The problem with using the foot pedal is one heavy hit and you've ruined your piece. So this really allows a lot of delicate work to be done. So that's the ram side of this hammer. So let's switch back to non-governed. Let's turn the air off. Let's bleed the system. And let's switch to the other side. So we're now over here. Okay, and you can see we're over here. Oh, got to turn the air on. So we're now on that side. And you can see I can go really fast or slow, and I can actually use the governor on that side as well. Now sometimes when you're hammering on this side, you're using a handheld die, and I don't have that right now. I'm going to show you an arm that holds the die. But if you're doing, again, work where you hit something and you need to reposition and you want to have a slow rise but a hard hit, Dave and I call that a slow upstroke. And to do a slow upstroke, there's another valve back here, which is here. So you notice with adjusting this valve, it's hitting hard and coming down hard, but it's got a slow rise to it. Again, so if you're trying to position something, this gives you a lot of, so it's still hitting hard, but it's cycling slowly on the upstroke. Very nice component to this. So I'll put that back to where it belongs. Now it's at the rapid. Now it goes, it's controlled by the foot pedal much more. Now this particular hammer, we put two stations on it because we wanted to have two different kinds of die systems. So this side can be set up for multiple methods, and originally this was meant to strike a handheld chisel or tool over a piece of sheet metal. What I quickly learned was that there were better ways to do this, and that is to fix your die into an arm. This arm has a pivot back here, which is a little hard for you to see, but it's about a foot-long pivot. You can mount a 3/4 cylinder die into here with many different shapes. This is set up right now with a piece of tin plate here, thick tin, that allows me to, for example, do any kind of leaf work I want. So for example, if I wanted to put a groove in here, the way this would work is I would be able to groove right along that passageway. Now you notice that my die is lifting from the work, and you don't always want that. So the other nice part about this particular machine is there's a bungee cord sitting back here, and this bungee cord can pull the work away from the piece of metal between hits. It can be reversed to hold it down between hits, or it can be just free floating, and you can just adjust that wherever you want it. I'll put it pretty free floating now, which means that now ordinarily I'd be doing this with a lot more light. Whoops, didn't have my die in tight. But you can see you can get a groove going in there. And so that allows you to do a groove in flowers very quickly. This is 18 gauge sheet metal. It allows you to put surface texture. I could put a different die in here. So one way is surface work. Two other things that you may see on this hammer. If you look at this piece of steel here, this actually allows the cylinder to be up or down depending upon the height of the work you're doing here. So I moved this cylinder to be able to do this chisel kind of work under here so that I had enough working stroke in my pneumatic cylinder here. If something here were high, then you have the ability to move this up. That's a fairly handy thing. The same is true with the arm. It's nice to be able to move the arm so that when you're doing things, it's almost always in a level position like that. And so the back of that pivot will move up and down as well, a separate set of bolt holes. The other thing which I want to mention is this. And I did mention this when I was showing you how to forge the sides. It is exceedingly useful to me to be able to have an armrest. And I can tell you that in delicate forgings, being able to have your arms here and to precisely do it the way you want to do it, and then move it and then move it, this armrest adds a tremendous capability to this machine.